In this video, we'll go through the test sheet systematically, as if we were filling out all the information that need to be filled out before completing a test. So once you've entered your information on the front page of FanTestic, you've selected your protocol and you've selected your language, you will come to this page. And to start a new test, you click New Test. This is what a test sheet typically looks like. We have the compliance statement for which protocol we are falling under right now, which is ASTM E779. We have the person to which it is licensed to, and all of the data that you will be providing or that you will be putting into for a test is located all on one sheet. To begin with, notice that there are many yellow cells, and there are also gray cells. The yellow cells are the ones in which we will be entering data. The gray cells are ones in which results will appear when data has been entered. So we'll go through this systematically. To begin with, enter your test and test technician information. Once you've entered something into one of the yellow cells, it will turn green. Now let's select the fan that we'll be using. If you're doing a residential test, typically you'll have a 2000 series fan. You can choose to enter the serial number, but it's not necessary to do that. Now if you were connecting the gauge via USB cable to the computer will recognize it by clicking Find Gauges. I currently have one connected, and it automatically puts in the serial number for the gauge that I am using. Next, we'll put in a description of the building and the building address. Now, if you were at a location, a house or a building, and you took some pictures, you could put them into this test sheet so that you could always remember and always notice what building that you were testing. And this is what the house looks like that we're testing. Next, we'll start entering some of the building information that has been collected before the test can begin. First is the elevation above sea level. Let's say we're at 100 feet above sea level. Now, elevation is used to make a flow correction on the data that we're collecting, and that's based on barometric pressure at the elevation, or average barometric pressure at the elevation. So if you don't put anything in this cell, there will not be a barometric pressure correction, but it will still be able to complete a temperature correction as long as you have temperature data located in there. The height of building above ground, let's say it's 10 feet. This is used in the compliance statement or the deviation statement for the ASTM test. You must put in the value of the height above ground, and that is used to determine temperature times height difference. As soon as you complete the test, FanTestic will compute this value, and as long as it's below 1180, the test will be compliant. Enclosure volume is used to determine air changes per hour. If you don't need the result of air changes per hour, there's no need to include that volume in there. Floor area is used to compute the value of flow per unit area, or per unit flow area. An enclosure area, which is the floor area plus the area of the walls and the ceiling, so everything that completes the conditioned space, or that surrounds the conditioned space, that will be used to compute flow per unit enclosure area. So if you don't need either of those two results, flow per floor area or flow per enclosure area, there's no need to put those values in there. However, if they are not in there, you will get a warning message that tells you those results cannot be computed until those values are input. Next, we have start date. This is automatically put in there based on the time and date of the computer. So if the computer that you're using is set correctly, this will provide the correct date and the correct time. However, if your computer is off by a few hours or off by a few days, you will get the wrong time put in here. So just make sure that you're using the correct time. And the naming convention is the year, the month, and the day. And this is on a 24-hour time clock. Now the files, as you notice up here, are automatically saved with the same naming convention. So it's saved with the name of the protocol that we're using, in this case ASTM, the year, the month, the day, and the time that the test began. You can save this as anything that you'd like, or you can leave it as the name in which it defaults to. In addition to this, if you want to get the time of the test when the test actually began, so let's say you opened the test sheet and you had a lot of information to collect and to input before the test even started, let's say maybe an hour, and you wanted to find the time that you actually began the test, you can click Get Time, and that will collect the time immediately when you click that button. Moving on, we'll see a drop-down box for operator location. You are either inside or outside. Generally, people are inside the building. This information will be used along with the building gauge pressure sign, so whether it's positive or negative, to determine if the test is a pressurized test or a depressurized test. If the operator is located inside and the building gauge pressures are positive, this is a pressurization test. If the operator is located inside and the building gauge pressures are negative, the test is a depressurization test. And this will automatically be determined as soon as the first building gauge pressure is entered. Following this, we have wind speed and wind direction. Now, ASTM does not require wind speed or direction. However, if they are put in there, they must be taken from either a weather office or they can be taken from a measuring device located at the building. Now, to comply with ASTM standards, wind speed must be between 0 and 4 miles per hour. We also have to include temperature, initial temperature and final temperature. So initial temperature is the temperature that you're taking just before you begin the test. And these are used to compute flow corrections along with the elevation above sea level. And they're also used in the temperature times height difference, which is one of the deviation statements of the ASTM test. Now that we've become familiar with the test sheet and have entered all the building information, we can begin a manual test.